It's back! And it's going to be better than ever. Not a guarantee. I got a knack for making things better. Face facts, cause your opinion don't matter. Look at me, hey! I'm going to shit down this ladder. Not necessarily the correct lyrics, but the ones I always remember. I don't know where... I know where I got the song from. That is Eric Bischoff's intro when he was in WWE. But where I got the line, got a knack for making things better, I don't know. The rest of the words, entirely accurate to the original song. For those of you wondering, no, that's not true. And don't be silly for believing that. It's the shitting down a ladder bit that's peculiar. And there's a lot of scientific thought that goes into the understanding of what I mean by shitting down a ladder. It took me ages to define precisely what I meant, and eventually I came to the conclusion that I mean it in like a slinky form. So you're at the top of the ladder, you take a shit, and it just sort of goes plop, 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 plop down every rung. Not important. A stupid gag that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. And there you have it. I'm sad as fuck, and I finally managed to get a piece of audio going where I actually start with that incredibly stupid and childish song. Anyway, by It's Back, which is what gave me the opportunity to utilise the stupid song. It's back means it's time for... I suppose, I should really... Hang on, wait for it. I've got to build up for this one because it takes a bit. It's Christmas! As I'm sure everybody is well aware, in fact probably painfully aware, that it is in fact Christmas despite it being November. And breathe, and breathe, and breathe. Anyway, I'm back, and the old guard can probably guess what it is, because it's back, and that is the J-Dragon Christmas Special. I don't know why I'm rubbing my fingers. I don't think that comes out on the audio. It might do, though. It's a pretty sensitive mic. But I'm doing some kind of strange rubbing my fingers in a sort of two semicircular motion. It's peculiar. I don't know why it happened. And I also don't know why I insisted on informing you of it all. Anyway, possibly the most used word in anything I ever do. Anyway, this is recorded footage, if you hadn't guessed. We're doing another one of these, because these never go wrong. This time I've got 20 minutes, and I've only wasted 2. Free. Not specifically when it clicks. Oh, there's the 3-second mark. That'll be 3-minute mark even. That'll be useful when I edit, because I can line it up a bit better. Anyway, most used word. Anyway, Christmas special. What's the gameplay? Right, do it in order. What's the gameplay? The gameplay is Wizard of Legend, and I'm in the icy world, which is a coincidence. I'm not going to claim anything more than it being a coincidence. Oh, first boss, the Counter Rogue. I don't remember if I made this look easy or really fucking hard, because it's really fucking easy. No, it's not too bad, actually. In fact, yeah, now I've gotten rid of his goons, I make it look pretty easy. Just keep dodging, whack him whilst invisible, and then you get the stun. Anyway, we're going to try and put the gameplay in the background because we're announcing the Christmas special. Now, a lot of the old guard, you'll know exactly what the Christmas special entails. And it's me giving back to you in a gift-like fashion. Yay! Anyway, my key fundamentals for when requesting gifts or getting gifts is I like to have a list. A very large list. I've done it for many years. I tend to have quite a long list of things. Things I particularly want, things I quite like, and then other things as well. I was going to say things I really like, things I'd quite like, and things I don't like, but I wouldn't put things I don't like on the list of Christmas bits. But the key thing is, it's a very long list. Nobody is going to be able to fulfill the entirety of that list. It's stupid. It's pointless. But nevertheless, it's a long list, because then the person you give the list to can go, right, okay, I'm going to get that, and that. And then, because it's a very, very long list, and I don't know what the fella's going to buy, fella being my father, wasn't necessarily going to specify that, but then I said fella and don't want rumours abounding. What rumours would abound, I don't know. It's gone wrong. The commentary's gone wrong suddenly. We've veered down a strange path that I didn't need to go down. Anyway, the key thing is I provide a list to people, usually my father, because he's... Oh wow, this sounds tragic, doesn't it? He's the only one who buys me a present. I'm doing sort of a trumpet noise, but with a violin motion, so that's confusing. Here it comes again. Anyway, key part of the ramble, very long list, pick certain bits, then I look at these certain bits all wrapped up and I don't know what the fuck's in the bits. So it's still a nice surprise, but it's a guided surprise. Yeah, it's not like you open it and you go, Jesus fucking Christ, that's awful, because you asked for it. Hence, see, it's a nice splitting of the difference. Ooh, painful. But you have guidance to the surprise. Guide surprise. And that's what I like to do for all of you. As I say, unfortunately for you old guarders, the people who have been around for a good few years, I say a good few years, probably more than a few years, because obviously it's been a bit of about a 2-year gap since I've done one of these, I think. But nonetheless, you old guarders kind of know the scenario. You're probably used to it. You've engaged in it a good couple of times previously. And that's very nice and unfortunate for you, because you're going to have to listen to the instructions all over again. But you never know. Maybe you're like me and you forget things the moment you say them. Maybe you're like me and you forget things the moment you say them. Maybe, I mean, it could be possible that you're like me and you forget things the moment you say them. How many times can I do that before it loses the idea of it being a joke and just becomes a mental breakdown? I don't know. Maybe like me, you forget things immediately after saying them. And as such, you don't remember how I work the Christmas specials. Right. We're down to the meat of the video. What you need to do, if you wish to have a special dedicated Christmas video for you, and you, and you, and you. I don't get that many views, so that is far too many views. Anyway, at least you've said it in a slightly different fashion, slightly crazed fashion, sort of fashion that might suggest you're a fucking murderer. Anyway, what do you need to do to be a part of this Christmas special? Okay, what you need to do is you have to write me a little list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is this French? Suddenly gone into French mode, don't know. That's, for those of you who don't speak French, or that may not have been French, I'm fairly certain it was French. 1, 2, 3 is definitely French. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can do 1 to 10 in French. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can do 1 to 5 in German. 1 to 10 in German. I can't speak English, that's the problem. Okay. What I need you to do is write me a little list of 5 games. Ideally 5. It could be 3 to 5, but 5 is probably your optimal number because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room with what you request. So if in the comments you can write 5 games, ideally title of the game, that's going to be fucking useful. And the system that game is on would also be quite preferable and useful. Title alone, probably enough for me to find it. If you know it's exclusive to a system, might be worthwhile throwing that information in. If you know it's available across multiple systems, again, any information you can provide is probably useful. But, as I say, title alone is probably sufficient for me to be able to find everything I require when it comes to locating said game. And as described by my statements earlier, you'll pick 5 as your list, and then I will play one for you. But you won't. At least one. So on some occasions, if it's like a little game, then I might do 2 little games or something. It's one of those ones where there's a budget. I'll do perhaps certain games within said budget. It's much like my list. If you bought the entirety of the list I provided, you would bankrupt yourself. Therefore, you go through the list, you purchase up to said budget, and then I get a surprise because some bits off the list have been bought, some bits off the list have not been bought. That's the point of the list system. So you give me 5 games you want me to play, I will play at least one, if not more, but at least one, as a surprise to you. Now, the next key piece of fact... Oh, I beat the boss. And then you get terrible puns all round, and I didn't have a fucking clue what the Cyclone Boomerang was, so I had a good little bit of a test to ground. Anyway, 5 games, 1 for surprise. The restrictions, because there are some, unfortunately there are some restrictions as to what I can actually do physically in terms of games. Now, old consoles, again, this is information old school. I need to find out why it makes that noise. You didn't hear that noise. That's unfortunate. Yeah, it's not recording system audio, therefore you didn't hear that noise. That's how used to doing it live I am, because it would have picked up the system audio and it didn't. Oh, this is embarrassing. Never mind. My computer made a drilling noise, indicative of something doing something, and it's annoying me because I need to find out what it is it thinks it's doing, because it's not actually doing what it thinks it's doing. That's a whole nother mess. I've got 8 minutes to explain the restrictions. That's probably more than enough. Restrictions. There are some, unfortunately. Old school consoles, as some of you will know, some of you will not. This is information for those who don't know rather than those who do. Old school consoles emulate very, very well. They've gotten that nailed down. So stuff like the NES, SNES, Genesis / Mega Drive. So look, some of the other old ones. No, they're mostly Game Boy. Game Boy's quite an old console now, isn't it? Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. All of that sort of one. They're fairly safe. They're sort of, if you request something off of there, provided I can find a ROM of it, I can probably do it. So if you're thinking something really old school, I really want to see something off the NES, bar the fact that Nintendo have sort of cracked down on ROMs and stuff, I would hope I'd be able to find that, and I think it would function quite well, as they usually do. Mega Drive / Genesis, same console, different names, if for those of you who are unaware. That's a pretty safe console. Again, there may be copyright-based stuff that's shut down certain emulation ROM sites, so it might be troublesome to find bits, but I'm fairly confident most of these things can be found somewhere on the line, and it's fairly safe to emulate in a it works fashion, not in a legal fashion. And that's probably the more important one, isn't it, really? Anyway, other consoles are available. PlayStation 1, that's a bit 50-50, that one. That's usually quite good. I don't remember having anything that drastic, but it sometimes can take a bit of fiddling, and thus can sometimes not work. So that's, we're looking at, if in your 5 you choose a couple of safe options, maybe an experimental, well, hopefully, maybe, and then maybe, you know, you've got another 2, you could do another safe one, and another, fuck it, maybe, style one. That's sort of what I would suggest for your list composition. A couple of safes, which will fairly guarantee that I'll have at least one to be able to do for you. Maybe an experimental, maybe an off-the-wall one, and maybe something else, your favourite or something. I don't know. List composition is entirely your choice. All I'm doing is providing possible guidance as to hopefully trying to get you something that I can do, and therefore you can enjoy it. Hopefully. I mean, if you're watching this, you should probably be enjoying the rest of the content. Otherwise, I think you're doing it wrong. Oh, this is the one where I made an absolute fuck up of it. Just could not seem to get that pattern down. You can see there, the idea, he dashes into a wall, then you attack him. Could not seem to get that pattern down. It's one of the simplest patterns of gaming history. I left that behind because I was fairly certain it was a cursed item, and I couldn't be doing with that. I don't like cursed items. They do me fucking nutting. Shit, I've got 5 minutes left. Less than 5 minutes left. So, PlayStation 1 and 2. Both of those are... probably, but possibly not. Style ROMs. GameCube is usually fairly safe. Again, being Nintendo, it might be troublesome finding the ROM, but GameCube tends to be moderately safe. Game Boy Color Advance, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, they're all pretty safe. Again, bar the Nintendo sort of shutting down ROM sites, etc. Usually the emulations work really nicely. DS seems fairly stable, so I can probably do a DS game for you. I think Monster Lab had a few sound issues. It was a little crackly, but fundamentally it worked quite nicely. And you saw, well, you may have seen, you may not have seen. You may have seen recently I did a couple of 3DS games. They seem to work quite admirably, but it is a bit of a 50-50 shot. It's one of those gambles. It's kind of like, yeah, yes, 3DS, yes, no. So if you choose something on the 3DS, again, that's sort of a risky 50-50 shot. I think it would probably work, but I can't guarantee it, because I can't guarantee what game you choose on the 3DS, therefore I can't guarantee if it will or will not work. PlayStation Portable is another option. They've been quite good. I haven't had many issues with that one, I don't think. In fact, I can't think of a specific issue I've ever had with that one, so that one might be a fairly safe bet. But again, it's emulation, for those of you who don't know, is a bit of a sort of a dodgy prospect. Some games, a lot of the popular games, let's put it this way, a lot of the popular games tend to get a lot of work put into them, therefore they work really, really well. Some of the less popular ones, not quite so much. N64, that's a real proper crapshoot, that one. Sometimes they work delightfully, sometimes you've got to put a lot of work in to make them work delightfully, but fundamentally, you can usually get something, but not always greatness, so keep that in mind. Dreamcast, I can apparently do. That sounds like it was a surprise to you. Yeah, but a little bit. Dreamcast I can mostly do. It tends to work out reasonably well. And then I've got a whole host of Steam games. So if there is sort of a game you know exists on Steam, maybe make that your real punt in the dark style choice. So I'd like you to do this game. It is on Steam, because there's a 50-50 chance I'd just go, I wanted it anyway, fuck it, buy it, done, dusted. Or I already own it. That's essentially it. Steam, take a shot. You never know. You never know your luck. Any game I've played in the past, obviously, I can replay. I would expect. I would fully expect any game I've played in the past I can replay. So that you should be fairly safe with that. Then let's have a look. Internet games, browser-based games, probably reasonably safe to be able to do. If you can play them on your browser, there's no reason to think I can't play them on mine. And therefore I can record and do some form of internet game. We are very much coming to the end where I die. Spoiler alert! I'm sure you probably expected I would die eventually. I can also probably do most free-to-play PC games. I've written down an example of this. Paladins, Fortnite. They're a couple of key players in the free-to-play PC game world. So let's have another quick review of the sort of consoles I can do a game on. We're going to run slightly over my time limit, but Not as bad as previously. I've kept it reasonably concise. A little bit of oh, there we go. I'm dead. And wait for it. I don't know. That audio got stuck, and it's slightly more entertaining in sped up fashion. But he just kept going. Forevermore. I had to cut it off. Quick review. Consoles I have emulators for, and therefore should be able to emulate without too many issues, but some a little dodgier than others. You've heard roughly what I've said. So you've got NES as an option, SNES, Genesis/Mega Drive, PS1 and 2, GameCube, Game Boy. It's because I've written it all in one row. Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, DS, 3DS, PlayStation Portable, N64, Dreamcast. I have a collection of Steam games available. Take a shot in the dark, you know, have a go. There's no real loss. You've got 5. You've got 5 pieces of list. That's not really how you say that, is it? You've got 5 choices available to you. If, as I say, you kept a couple as really safe options, as I say, something on the Game Boy Advance. I'm not trying to influence you, I'm just using it as an example. Because it's fairly solid and a very good emulator. And then maybe you think, actually, I'd really like to see this game. Is it on Steam? It is. I'll take a shot. Maybe he's got it, maybe he'll buy it. Fuck it, let's have a go. And then you've still got 2 spare. That's 2 safe options, a random shot in the dark, and 2 spare. 5 does seem like an optimal number. Other games available, internet browser-based games, should be able to do. Free-to-play style stuff, Paladins Fortnite as an example of your free-to-play style stuff. Again, there are many free-to-play games, and I should be able to do most of them. So you can pretty much choose whatever you like. Right. Fairly swift recap. In the comments, if you would like to receive a special J-Dragon Christmas present, or a Christmas future, or a Christmas past, in the comments, select 5 games. 5 games upon a list. I will pick at least one of those games, and I will dedicate a video to you, saying Merry Christmas, and all of the good cheer, and all the other pointless Christmas nonsense. Wow, you sound really happy. I know. No, I do. I'll start playing that trumpet violin again if you're not careful. 5 games on a list. You've heard the consoles. I think we're done. Cheerio.